Listen up, life doesn't wait for anyone. You're scrolling, you're distracted, you're comparing yourself to everyone else. And that's why most people are stuck. Here's the truth. If you want to rebuild your life, you've got to sit alone with yourself. And I mean really sit. No phone, no noise, no excuses. When you're alone, you finally get to look in the mirror, not just at your reflection, but at who you really are. What are your strengths, your weaknesses? What have you been running from? Most people hate being alone because it forces them to face the truth. Guess what? That truth is exactly what you need. Being alone teaches you accountability. No one else is responsible for your happiness. No one else is responsible for your money, your relationships, or your growth. You are. And when you finally accept that something clicks, you stop blaming, stop whining, and start doing. This is also where clarity comes in. When everyone else is screaming in your ears, you don't hear your own voice. You don't hear your dreams. You don't hear the plan that's buried inside of you. Alone time lets that vision surface. And once you see it clearly, the work starts. But let me be real. Being alone isn't just about thinking. It's about action. You can sit in silence for weeks, months even. But if you don't start taking steps, nothing changes. Start small. Start now. Build routines, set goals, take risks. That's how you rebuild. That's how you go from surviving to thriving. Solitude builds resilience. Life is going to throw punches, failures, heartbreaks, mistakes. If you've never been alone with your thoughts, you won't know how to stand up for yourself. Solitude is your training ground. The stronger you get here, the stronger you are everywhere else. So stop running from yourself. Stop looking for quick fixes, distractions, and approval. Sit down, face your fears, write your plan, rebuild your life brick by brick. Because when you master the relationship with yourself, you master everything else. Most people underestimate the power of being alone with themselves. They think being alone is boring, awkward, or even a sign of weakness. But the truth is the opposite. Being alone is where the real work begins, where you get a chance to look at your life honestly, without filters, without anyone else's opinion clouding your view. Self-reflection is not a luxury. It's a necessity if you want to grow, if you want to rebuild your life from the ground up. You see, when you spend all your time surrounded by noise, by social media, by people constantly telling you what to do or how to feel, you lose touch with the most important person in your life, yourself. The only way to truly understand what drives you, what scares you, what excites you, is to step back and spend time in silence with your own thoughts. Self-reflection forces you to ask the hard questions. Why am I here? What am I doing with my time? Am I living the life I actually want? Or am I chasing someone else's version of success? Most people avoid these questions because they're uncomfortable. But discomfort is exactly where growth lives. When you reflect on your actions, your choices, and your results, you start to notice patterns. You see the habits that are holding you back, the beliefs that are limiting you, and the excuses you keep telling yourself to avoid responsibility. And when you see these things clearly, you can make real decisions to change them. Being alone also gives you a chance to reconnect with your passions and your purpose. Without external noise, you can hear your own voice. You can identify what truly matters to you, not what society says matters, not what your friends or family say you should want. This clarity allows you to focus your energy on the things that actually move the needle in your life. Self-reflection is like looking at your life as a blueprint. It shows you the areas that need fixing, the areas that are strong, and the gaps that need attention. It's not about judging yourself harshly. It's about understanding yourself deeply. It's about taking an honest inventory of who you are today, who you want to become tomorrow, and what steps you need to take to get there. We live in a world that's addicted to constant connection. Phones are buzzing, notifications are piling up, social media is screaming for your attention, and everyone wants a piece of your time. Most people confuse being busy with being productive, being entertained with being fulfilled, and being connected with actually being present. But if you want to rebuild your life, if you want to grow into the person you're capable of becoming, you need to disconnect. Not for a few minutes here and there, not just scrolling less, but intentionally stepping away from the noise and giving yourself the space to breathe, think, and create. Disconnecting is not a punishment, It's an opportunity. When you disconnect, you reconnect with your mind, with your goals, with your vision. Most people never do this because it feels uncomfortable. When the world stops shouting, you suddenly have to deal with your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own reality. And that's exactly why it works. That silence, that pause, is where you uncover truths that no one else can tell you. It's where you see the distractions you've been hiding behind, the people who drain your energy, and the habits that sabotage your progress. It's where you can finally hear yourself think clearly without comparison, without judgment, without the constant pressure to perform or please others. Disconnecting also allows you to reconnect with creativity and focus. When you're constantly scrolling, watching, reacting, and posting, your brain never gets a chance to rest. Your ideas get buried, your vision gets diluted, and your energy gets scattered. Taking intentional breaks from everything external gives your mind room to expand, to generate solutions, to plan strategically, and to dream bigger than you ever thought possible. It's in those quiet moments that you start to realize what you actually want, not what everyone else wants for you. When you disconnect, you also learn to trust yourself more. You stop relying on likes, validation, or external feedback to feel worthy. You start making decisions based on your intuition, your values, and your long-term vision. You notice what truly energizes you, what drives you forward, and what holds you back. And that clarity is the fuel for rebuilding your life intentionally. You can't fully reconnect with your purpose if you're always distracted, if you're constantly reacting instead of creating, if you're never actually alone with yourself. Most people spend their lives blaming everything else for where they are, the economy, their parents, their teachers, their friends, even luck. And while there's nothing wrong with recognizing external factors, the moment you make someone else responsible for your life, you give away your power. Real change, real growth, real rebuilding, it all starts with taking full accountability for yourself. Being alone with yourself forces you to confront this truth. No one else is going to clean up your mess, fix your mistakes, or create the opportunities you're capable of creating. Only you can do that. Accountability is not a buzzword. It's not just a mental exercise or something you write on a sticky note. It's a lifestyle. It's about looking at your actions every single day and asking, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I push myself? Did I make excuses or did I move? When you hold yourself accountable, you stop living in excuses. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you or tell you what to do. You start seeing your life as a result of your decisions. And that realization is incredibly freeing because it means everything is also within your control. When you spend time alone, accountability becomes clearer. There's no one around to distract you or make you feel better about shortcuts. You can't blame anyone for your procrastination, for the moments you gave up, or for the opportunities you let slip. You have to face it head on. And when you do, you start making better choices. You start being honest with yourself about where you're weak and where you need to improve. You start taking responsibility for your mental state, your health, your relationships, your career, and your finances. Everything becomes a reflection of the effort and focus you put in. And suddenly, excuses no longer matter. Accountability also fuels discipline. When you know that the results of your life rest on your own actions, you start to prioritize what matters. You stop wasting time on meaningless distractions and start investing in the habits, routines, and actions that move you closer to your goals. You learn to measure yourself not against others, but against the commitments you make to yourself. And as you consistently take ownership of your life, you'll notice something amazing. You gain confidence, clarity, and momentum because you now understand that no one can derail you unless you let them. Most people drift through life without a real vision because they're too busy listening to everyone else. They let society, friends, family, and social media dictate what they should want, what success looks like, and what happiness feels like. But if you want to rebuild your life, if you want to create something meaningful, you need clarity. Vision clarity is about knowing exactly what you want and why you want it, even when no one else understands it. Even when the world seems to be shouting in every other direction. The moment you get clear on your vision, everything else starts falling into place because your decisions, your habits, and your actions align with that vision. Being alone is how you achieve that clarity. When you step back from the noise, when you stop reacting to every trend, every opinion, every expectation, you finally have room to listen to yourself. You get to ask the hard questions. What am I really passionate about? What impact do I want to leave on the world? What does success actually look like for me, not for anyone else? Most people avoid these questions because they're uncomfortable and require honesty. But that discomfort is where vision is born. Without it, you're drifting, making decisions based on impulse or approval rather than purpose. Clarity also gives you focus. When you know exactly what you want, you stop wasting energy on things that don't move you closer to your goals. You stop getting distracted by comparisons, trends, or temporary excitement. You can prioritize actions that actually matter, and you start to see opportunities that others miss because they're too busy looking everywhere else except forward. Vision is like a map. Without it, you wander aimlessly. But with it, even the smallest steps have meaning. Every decision becomes a piece of the larger puzzle, and every setback becomes a lesson rather than a derailment. Having a clear vision also builds confidence. When you know where you're going, you stop doubting yourself as much. You stop letting fear dictate your choices. You start trusting your instincts because they are now guided by purpose. Vision clarity doesn't come overnight. It comes from self-reflection, from sitting with yourself, and from being honest about what you want and why it matters. When your goals are crystal clear, your actions are no longer random. You operate with intention, with direction, and with an unstoppable momentum because you're no longer trying to please anyone but yourself. Life is going to hit you hard. There's no way around it. People fail, plans fall apart. Relationships break, and sometimes the world just feels like it's against you. Most people crumble under pressure because they've never trained themselves to handle adversity. They've never spent time alone with themselves, facing their fears, confronting their emotions, and learning how to manage pain instead of running from it. Emotional resilience is the ability to get back up when life knocks you down, to stay focused when chaos surrounds you, and to keep moving forward when everything inside you wants to quit. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build piece by piece by being willing to face discomfort head on. Being alone is the training ground for this kind of resilience. When you spend time with yourself, you're forced to confront your own thoughts, your own fears, and your own weaknesses. You can't blame anyone else, and there's no one around to distract you. This is where you learn how strong you really are. You discover that you can sit with pain without running from it, that you can process failure without letting it define you, and that you can manage anxiety, doubt, and frustration without letting them control your decisions. Every moment you spend alone being honest with yourself strengthens your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. Resilience also comes from practice. Small challenges, small failures, and small uncomfortable moments are opportunities to build emotional strength. When you face them deliberately, when you confront your shortcomings and take responsibility for them, you're conditioning your mind, you're teaching yourself that setbacks are temporary, that mistakes are lessons, and that discomfort is a signal for growth. Most people avoid this because it's uncomfortable to face themselves without distractions, but the people who embrace it are the ones who become unstoppable over time. Building emotional resilience also changes your relationship with fear. When you know you can handle tough situations alone, when you've tested yourself and come out stronger, fear loses its grip. You start taking risks that other people avoid because you trust your ability to adapt, recover, and learn. You stop overthinking, stop overreacting, and start responding with clarity and strength. Emotional resilience isn't about being perfect or never feeling pain. It's about knowing you can survive, adapt, and thrive no matter what life throws at you. Most people spend their lives talking about what they're going to do instead of actually doing it. They make plans, set goals, dream big, but when it comes down to taking action, excuses take over. The Wi-Fi is slow, the timing isn't perfect, they don't have enough money, they're too tired, the list is endless. Here's the brutal truth: the world doesn't care about your excuses. Nobody is going to hand you success because your reasons are valid. Action is the only thing that moves the needle. You can think, plan, and strategize all day, but without execution, nothing changes. The moment you stop letting excuses run your life is the moment you start rebuilding it. Being alone forces you to face your own excuses. When there's no one around to distract you, no one around to justify your laziness or procrastination, you have to answer to yourself. Did you really try as hard as you could? Did you actually follow through on your plans? Or did you let fear, doubt, or comfort control your choices? That self-reflection is uncomfortable, but it's the only way to stop making excuses and start taking action. Excuses are easy, action is hard. But the people who achieve greatness are the ones willing to do the hard stuff consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. Action also teaches you more than planning ever will. You can read books, watch videos, and get advice until you're blue in the face. But knowledge without execution is useless. When you take action, you learn what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. Mistakes aren't failures, they're data. Every step forward, even if imperfect, builds momentum. And momentum is everything because it creates belief in yourself. When you see what's possible through action, excuses start losing their power, and you start operating from a place of confidence and capability rather than fear and hesitation. Taking action over excuses also strengthens discipline. It trains you to prioritize what matters, to ignore distractions, and to move toward your goals relentlessly. You realize that progress is not about perfection or ideal conditions. It's about consistency and persistence. The more you act, the more results you create, and the more your excuses shrink in comparison to your achievements. Action creates feedback loops that reinforce growth, focus, and determination, and once you start living this way, procrastination, self-doubt, and fear have nowhere to hide. So here's the bottom line: rebuilding your life starts with you. It starts with sitting alone, facing your truths, taking responsibility, and getting brutally honest about who you are and who you want to become. The clarity you gain, the resilience you build, and the action you take all compound over time. Nobody else is going to hand you your life. Nobody else is going to fix your mistakes or chase your dreams for you. This is your journey, your responsibility, your opportunity. Being alone isn't a punishment, it's a superpower. It gives you the focus to see clearly, the courage to take ownership, and the freedom to create without limits. Every thought you process, every fear you face, every action you take in solitude becomes a building block for the life you've been waiting to live. Stop letting distractions, excuses, and other people's opinions dictate your path. Step into the discomfort, embrace the challenge, and commit to your growth relentlessly. The truth is simple. Your future is waiting for the version of you who decides to stop running and start building. The person you are alone with today determines the life you create tomorrow. So take control, make the hard choices, act consistently, and never settle for anything less than what you're capable of achieving. When you master yourself, when you harness the power of solitude, clarity, accountability, resilience, and action, there's nothing in this world that can stop you.